Good evening. So today is February 11th. There is a campaign that is going on, the day we fight against mass surveillance, right? The day we fight back. So we have Sajid here to explain us what is actually we are fighting against. Okay, I would like to welcome Sajid to give us more details about that. Hello.
Good evening, friends. My name is Sajid, and I'm a pen tester. So my job is to secure the applications. So the day we fight back, this is our topic here. So what is about this mass surveillance? So what is the whole buzz about mass surveillance? So surveillance is of an entire. It's a mass surveillance is a surveillance of entire or a substantial fraction of populations. And we know that the recent whistleblower thing by Edward. Uh, so, uh, so this is basically either done by the government or by the company, and they are even so they are also so these are authorized or not authorized from the court or independent agency. So mass surveillance is often justified by this government agency as necessary to fight terrorism or prevent social unrest or protect national security or fight child pornography and protect children. But this has been widely criticized by the public that this is against the violation of privacy rights for limiting civil and political rights. So before talking about mass surveillance and about the Edward Snowden whistleblowing thing, before that, it's not that after this whistleblowing thing that we came to know that we are under surveillance, mass surveillance. Even before that, there were such scenarios like after WTC attack in USA, the department they thought of coming up with a unit where they could monitor the terrorism communications. So DARPA they came up with the Information Awareness Office on January 2002 to bring together several DARPA projects focused on applying surveillances and information technology to track and monitor terrorists and other asymmetric threats to US. So basically, this is done by collecting the huge amount of databases, metadata, and spy on US citizens, and they store a lot of PII data like social network, credit card records, phone calls, and without any warrant. That's the reason it's illegal. And additionally, the program included funding for biometric surveillances as well. Basically, it could identify technologies that can identify and track individuals using surveillance cameras. So that's scary, you know. So this is a public information from the net about their programs.
So before going into the details, let's ask people that is how what actually they know about mass surveillance and what are their thoughts on that. So regarding whether they know about that or whether they know the meaning of mass surveillance,
Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
so that they can keep their vision without listening to everything, and then we can correct them.
Yeah. So anyone have any point to talk about it? Like mass surveillance program, is it like you came to notice it only after this, or you had an idea about it? Like this monitoring thing is happening.
NSA News used to do that, and government used to collect the data, I mean biometric data like fingerprints, eye sketch, etc. From the public uh, with or without their permission, and used to this is kind of privacy lack.
Any other? So, have you previously know about that? There is something that is happening on February 11th? No? Got a basic idea of what is mass surveillance, or still we are wondering that what actually it is?
We understood that something others said, but I don't know what is how we do this presentation today, and what is the importance of February 11th.
So the major intention of this event is at first to build an awareness on something is happening or something called mass surveillance is there, and there are some threats related to that. So our primary aim is to build awareness, and then we can explain that what actually are its threats.
Thank you. Definitely. So it's a part of an awareness program actually. Like majority of people we don't know being using internet, like what's happening behind it. Okay, because there are a lot of things happening. We'll be discussing about it here. So like I was in regard talking about IAO or so there was a public, I mean, opposition to this organization that it was built on Jan 2002, but there was a lot of people criticizing it. So it was defunded by the Congress in 2003. But it came up with various other programs related to this, which was then revealed by Edward Snowden. Okay. So when he revealed the program, there are lot of programs like Prism, XKeys, Score, Tempora, Muscular, Project 6, State Room, and Lustre. So each program does surveillance, mass surveillance, which has its own way of doing it, actually, done by NSA. They do either do it with a coordinator, with the coordination from other countries, or they do it by alone. So what we'll do is that we won't be going detail into each of it because these are public information. You can find it, but it's a very huge data actually. But we'll be looking at particular slides which are pretty interesting to see. So we'll first take at Prism. So this is publicly released, the slide, Prism slide. And you can clearly see it on the from the left hand side, the current providers of the data and what they get, and the right side is the what they get from the collection, like email, chat, videos, photos, file transfers, everything. And the current providers are Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, Facebook. So these are the companies either they wantedly cooperate with the NSAs, or they don't know that these data are being retrieved from the network.
So we can know this surveillance as framework.
Yeah.
Our information.
With their knowledge or with the cooperation. That's the point here. The next slide is the key score, and this is one of the slide which talks about HTTP activity client to server, and it shows about the markings. If you can clearly see that it's a HTTP protocol, and they're talking about what data they can retrieve using HTTP. We all already know about it. Like if an application is using HTTP, it's unsafe. You can get the cookie and a lot of other details as well. So that's another information over there. And there is Muscular. This is pretty interesting. This is actually a slide about Google Cloud exploit. And you can see here that the public internet, which is used by us, from the user to GFE, Google front-end server, it uses SSL. But within the Google Cloud, the data are plain text. So here NSA is talking about sniffing those data in those areas. So again, this is public information. Google engineers were really, really pissed off actually when they came to know about this against NSA. And this is again a similar program where Germany provides some huge amount of metadata to NSA. That's another screenshot. Okay, so the exact size of disclosure, Snowden's disclosure, is not known. So this is again public information where they say that at least 15,000 of Australian intelligence files, according to Australian officials, 58,000 of British intelligence files were disclosed, 1.7 million US intelligence files were disclosed. So, you know, obviously, after such events happen, you know, that's when the people started making a movement like this, you know, and they knew that where they are heading to, especially in USA. Now, you spoke about USA. Now, obviously, we are interested in what's happening in our country, India, about mass surveillance programs. And so, Indian Parliament passed the Information IT Act of 2008 with no debate, giving the government flat power to tap all the communications. So, which means that central government, state government is authorized to intercept, monitor, or decrypt any information generated, transmitted. So, of course, we like they have PRISM programs and all. Even we have such programs. Like the first is NatGrid. So this is the link of data. It collects a link of databases from several departments and ministries of India, and this is mainly done to you know, monitor terrorist attacks. After the terrorist attack in Mumbai, this initiative was taken, and it is operational from 2013. Again, NatGrid faced opposition of on charges of possible violation of privacy and leakage of confidential person information, and they even doubted like how this is going to help, because even police officers don't have access to these data. So they are saying that this is helping you know, to monitor terrorist attacks and be more proactive in you know, be more proactive in the. So when police officers doesn't have access data, they cannot access data, then what is the point in collecting these data? So, and the next thing is DRDO Netra. It's a network traffic analyzer developed by India's Central for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. So its capabilities is like it can analyze voice traffic passing through software such as Skype, Google Talk, and intercept message with keywords such as attack, bomb, blast, or kill. So next time you speak to your friends in these softwares, just be careful, I would say. And just I remember one example here. I mean, I think this was already published in one of the Hackers News, where in USA, you know, a mother was talking to her friend about her son, and they use, you know, we use random words like bomb, kill you, or something like that, just for fun. And she used something like bomb, and the next time she saw that NSA was knocking her door and asking inquiry about it. So you can see that the people, they are really alert about this. And we have central monitoring systems as well, abbreviated to CMS. It's a mass surveillance program. So what it does is that it gives India's security agencies and income tax officials centralized access to India's telecommunication network, ability to listen in on and record mobile, landline and satellite calls, and voice over internet protocol, and read private emails, SMS, MMS, and track the geographical locations, all in real time. And it can also be used to monitor your social networking websites as well, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and track user search histories. So these are the main programs currently. Now what we'll do is that, yeah. Now these are, now what we saw actually is all the surveillance programs USA and what's happening in India. Next, I'll call up Srinath. He'll be talking about like what we can do about it, and why is this happening? I mean, how come? I mean, these people are able to collect more information, and what we can do by using open source platforms as well. So I would invite Srinath for this to discuss. Meanwhile, if you have any queries, you can ask us.
So this means that actually whenever we are doing a Skype call or any telephone or sending an SMS, all those messages and talks are being monitored, and whenever we use some specific terms, that is, it gets
Yeah.
recorded
So
down.
they have a software where which would detect these terms, these characters, and would pop up an alert and locations where.
Okay, okay. So whenever these type of information or these type of words come in our talk, they just keep informed that this person from this location talked about a bomb. So all our phone calls or Skype calls and all these things are constantly monitored using this software. So there is no privacy for anyone. It is just because what they are actually saying is that for there is this is for identifying, that is if there is terrorists are planning for some bomb blast or something like that, then they can identify it. They are not going to use those terms. Okay. And for that they are taking the privilege to monitor each and everyone's private affairs.
Yeah, it's basically violating freedom of speech, I would say.
Yeah.
Freedom of internet.
Yes. Okay. So that is why this the DB fight back or this protest against security or surveillance is very important.
Yeah, it's a safe internet day, February 11th. So I think Sheena is the best person who talk to you about safe internet. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. So we have had a small talk, a small discussion and overview on what is mass surveillance and how it is affecting all of us. Imagine you are in your room, you are talking to your friend, you're talking to your girlfriend, you're talking to your mom, your sister, your friends, your boss, and then someone's up there watching every time what you're speaking, each and every line what you're writing there. That's sort of a big annoying thing for all of us, right? They are infringing on our security, on our privacy. So the question is, there are a lot of such stuff happening everywhere, and it's not quite easy to escape this. So this brings us to the question of what can we do to prevent this, or at least to reduce this to an extent. Come on, we cannot say that you should not use internet at all. But of course, the best way would be don't use the internet. But that's not feasible in a society like this. In today's world, that's not possible. So what is the next best solution that we have? The easiest solution is go open source. So what is this thing about open source that makes it different or makes it a possible solution for this? Imagine you have a company which makes a software. Now what they do with it is completely up to the company. What data they track is completely up to the company. And how they use it is completely up to the company, right? So that's where you define privacy. Everybody comes and talks about privacy. What is this internet privacy? Internet privacy is a right to display, store, reuse, and sell your data. You as an end user visits a website. So the website gets a lot of data from you. Now what sort of data? It could be your username, your age, your browsing habits, your sensitive details such as your credit card data. It could be any data. Depends on what website you're visiting. So now the data is there on your internet website. Then what? Have you given enough right to the website to use it again, to reuse it, to sell it to a third-party provider? There are instances when you get job calls from different companies. There are instances when you get different sales calls from different companies asking you, are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? Now, where do they get all this data from? They get the data because someone is selling this data to them. So your private data is being sold. There are underground markets where these are sold. There are actual big companies where this data gets sold. So you have no idea what they're doing with it. So that is where internet privacy comes to picture. So websites monitor you. Now why do the websites monitor you? We'll get back to the question about why is open source a viable solution. But the first question, why does websites monitor you? Why do they need the data? They need it because it helps them get more revenue. Simple. Second, it's easy for surveillance, as we said before, and it helps you understand what you're doing, get track of each and every details. This get added to their business. So there are lots of reasons why they want to collect your data, right? Now, how do they do it? They do it in different ways. you should be familiar with all of this. Every time you visit a website, there are cookies out there. There are HTTP cookies which store data. There are, and once you have a cookie, you can delete it actually, right? But then they invented something called as a flash cookie. You know, flash cookie is more of a persistent cookie. Then there is an something called as an ever cookies. The speciality with ever cookies is that there will be redundant copies over there, and it doesn't easily get deleted. Even if you delete it, it'll be created again. So there are different ways in which they can track your details. There are, with the HTML5 now coming up, there is lots of different storage options out there. All this adds up to how your data is being obtained. For example, device fingerprinting. Every time, you might be thinking that every time you log into an internet and you're not giving your username and password, you're not actually signing into an application, and you wouldn't be tracked. That's not the case. That's not the case always. See, based on your data, because say for example, a specific browser and a combination of a specific operating system with the plugins installed in that browser and all, they can create sort of a pattern where they can identify who is coming from where and what they are browsing, and all those details can be collected, right? Photographs on the internet, all of us, we post lots and lots of photographs, so we should be careful about what sorts of photos do we post in there. There are instances when the photos can be used in facial recognition matches, and that can cause a security problem. Search engines, if you go and do a small search with your username or your complete name, you might be shocked to find out what sorts of results are available online. A lot of results which you might not even know that existed would still be there online, because the Google and other search engines are crawling and getting your data. So there your privacy is lost again. Are you aware of all this? Social networks, internet service providers. So there are lots of ways this can happen. So the question, as we said earlier, what can we do about it? And that brings us to open source solutions. Why open source? Because open source means the source code is open. It's open to everyone. People can view it, they can see it, and there are more people working on it. And even if, say for example, one person makes a sort of a unwanted thing in there, say for example a small vulnerability or a purposeful a code which can track details, there are other people always available who can say, no, that is not right, that's not correct, that code should be removed. So there is more transparency when it comes to collaborative development. So all these open source versions of softwares support collaborative work. And that is the reason why open source can help to a great extent in reducing the amount of privacy infringement in our lives. So what are the examples? Let's start with some of them. Anonymous browsing. So every time you browse internet, we have details of who is coming from where. Now, how do you make yourself anonymous in an internet? There's something called a store, or it's called the Onion router. So you get it as a small bundle, a software called the Tor browser bundle. Install it, one click, and it starts running, and then you're totally anonymous. So you're not tracked. There are options available where you can send anonymous emails if you want to, if you don't want to be tracked. Anti-spam, there are open source solutions for anti-spams, anti-spywares. They're not included examples because there are lots and lots of them. Browsers are available which are open source, for example, Mozilla, Firefox. There are email clients available like Thunderbird which can be used. There are lots and lots of browser add-ons. The advantage with browser add-ons is if you have the add-ons, the amount of add-ons available out there are plenty. Abundant, lots and lots of add-ons are there. Now, the advantage is every little piece of work which you want to do online, there will be some sort of an add-on solution for it. The best part with Mozilla add-ons is that all of these add-ons go through a manual review process. So every add-on gets checked by a review committee board, and they make sure the add-on doesn't have tracking details in them. So that way, you're protected to a certain extent. Encryptions. There are lots of encryption options available in open source where you can encrypt your data, your disk data, any sort of data. There are lots of open source solutions. For file transfer, you could use, there are FileZilla and lots of other options. That's just one example. If you want intrusion detection systems, there are open source versions like Snort. These are all open source versions. There are operating systems, password management options, proxy servers if you want. If you want to chat with an encrypted option, there's even that called crypto chat. That encrypts the data and you're not tracked. There are compression options, social networking options. So these are some of the open source solutions which are available out there, which you can make use of to reduce you being tracked. And some of the best practices which you could implement while internet surfing. As you all know, there are lots of unnecessary forms out there which you shouldn't be filling it out. Every time you browse, you should clear the history and the caches so that you are not being tracked every now and then. Every time you download something, make sure you watch what you download. The next thing is, while you're filling out stuff, there are lots of security questions being asked. So make sure you're giving proper answers to them, because that one security question can create privacy problems because you could go hacked. Make sure you're posting the right content in social media. What you're posting gets crawled. So search engines, you can have you can have anonymous search option called DuckDuckGo, which doesn't track you when you search stuff. And most importantly, make sure you use HTTPS when you're accessing websites. So there are two small links out there which you could follow, which have a very good list of open source, about 75 open source solutions for different purposes. So this should help you get started to reducing your using of other non-open source stuff, and hopefully this should help you understand how you can go about reducing the online tracking. So that's pretty much it about open source solutions and how you can use them to reduce the online tracking. So thank you so much.
So you told about open source solutions.
Yes.
So do you mean that that is they are able to, for example, the NSA is able to track it only because of the support from these private companies?
Yeah.
That is Google, Microsoft, or these type of companies are supporting NSA, and open source would never do that. That is the only, because whether they are getting into the system and identify data, or these people, that is Google, is directly giving them.
Yeah, good question. Now, that is not the only way we can do it. But what we can do is, we cannot completely avoid it, or the only way to avoid it is stop using all of those services. Even though they say that they are not publicly involved, we have lots of articles where they mention in the Prism they are involved in it. However, that being said, today, Twitter, Google, Facebook have all pledged their solidarity with this movement today, but they have not yet mentioned how exactly will they support it. So how they give the data, leak the data, we're not sure about it, but we know that data is being leaked. So yes, as you said, even if you use this, there might be data being used, data being collected. This open source solutions was to reduce the amount of data which can be given out and tracked. This wouldn't in any way stop it completely. No.
So, what is the actual aim of this protest, or that is happening? That is whether to build an act, or
the actual aim is 2 years before we had an event where the entire internet went black, protesting acts like SOPA. And now we have had instances like Edward Snowden, who had leaked lots of NSA related security details. Now, once that happened, USA is now passing lots of bills, which is trying to, for example, a bill called FISA. Now, what they try to do with it is they are trying to legalize surveillance, so that every data will be completely monitored. So this movement over there is to protest that FISA bill and some other 20 bills which are in process to make all this monitoring legal. So they are trying to oppose that. Plus, they are trying to bring another bill called as the USA Freedom Act. Now, with the USA Freedom Act, what they try to do is, if that gets passed, that will end the bulk data collection. So that is the actual aim of this. But along with mass surveillance, that is in USA, but this happens in all the nations. So different companies out there, including Reddit, Mozilla, Tumblr, there are and lots of them. So they are all have come together, and they're all participating in such a protest, so that you make people aware of this. You do something against this to stop the bill being passed, and pass the USA Freedom Bill as well. So over here, our interest would be in making people understand what is privacy and how it impacts to all of our lives in every day. So that is the aim of this movement. I hope that makes sense.
Sure. Any other question?
You have suggested diaspora for social networking.
Yes.
Is it
Diaspora
possible?
is just one example. You can have more of them.
So we won't be using. We can't use Facebook. Or
That is entirely up to the users to what to use and what not to use. These are just examples of open source solutions. Yeah.
For diaspora, how it's happened? How can they secure our data?
You can build private stuff over there, but as I said, this is not the complete solution for all of us. These are just open source alternatives, but that wouldn't mean it will be an exact replica of MySpace or Facebook or G+. No, it wouldn't be. It's something which will come close to it, that's all. If you have a private set of social network implemented, probably. Yeah.
And how can they do that? Because all the social networking sites are doing working in similar way. Then how can it be secured, our data?
No, with diaspora, the data doesn't go there. It's completely up to you to how to go about dealing with the data. We can set it up our own in private. If you're having an organization here, we can set up our own social network here. We have complete control. For example, you're using Yammer. In Yammer, you don't have any control of the data which you have. It's completely gone over to another company. You don't know what to do with it. But with diaspora, you can set it up on your own. Yes. But as I said, it is not a complete replacement for Facebook or MySpace, and it wouldn't be. No. So I guess that's it for the questions.
Okay.
Okay.
So whether this protest, right now it is we are just building awareness about this thing.
Yes.
So do you know anything about what are the next steps?
Probably this protest would, it's yet to start in other countries because of time zones. So what would happen after this, we would know tomorrow morning. Probably they might stop the bill, probably they might not. If they don't, there might be more protest. Not sure.
Okay.
So
the after effect, that is what we expect is to stop that bill.
we expect to stop the bill because, as we said earlier, some of the bills have already been stopped 2 years before. One of the largest internet protests happened 2 years before, and that has resulted in stopping a bill. So probably they should also stop with hopes.
Okay. That's right.
Okay, then thank you so much for attending this. Yep. Thanks.